Hello, my name is David Webb, and this is a video for Dweebovision. I am a Scrabble grandmaster, and in this video I am going to play Scrabble while providing in-game commentary on my moves. Hopefully this will help to improve your game, and be fun to watch. The game has just started, so let's join the action. It's my opponent to go first. I have a balanced rack, but I don't have a 7-letter bingo, and I don't think there is an 8-letter bingo with these letters. I've got 3 high-scoring tiles, the B, the C and the P, so I'll be looking to play off 2 of them. Now a word like bop or cop. Wow, great start for my opponent, 78 points. And a nice spot using the blank as a cue. Now I can play bop across here. What would be better is boep. That sorts out the duplicate E. 29 points, that's a good score. Now what would be better than that would be a play in column 11, a double-double through the eye of quaffed. Now is there such a word? I've got piece, P-I-E-C-E. I would need to have a 2 or 3 letter front extension. Okay, I can't see a double-double, therefore I'm happy with boep. Again, I have 3 high-scoring tiles and a balanced rack and no bingo. So again, I'll be looking to play off 2 out of the 3 high-scoring tiles. My preference is to play off the W and the Y because they are the least bingo-y. I could play off all 3 with a cowy, C-O-W-Y. Don't think that plays anywhere at the moment. Bow takes an O in front, but the only letter which goes in front of O-I is K and P. Raj takes an A after it, which I don't have. Ref takes a T in front that I don't have. Now Q takes an I after it, which I do have. So I could play whiny, W-I-N-Y. That gets rid of 2 of the 3 high-scoring tiles, and it's the 2 I want to get rid of. 27 points, the score is good. Whiny takes a T in front. The only problem with this move is that I'm keeping a vowel-heavy leave. I do, however, have an O, which is one of the hooks for boy. Yeah, I kept a vowel-heavy leave, and I've now got a vowel-heavy rack. I do still have scoring tiles in the C and the M, but as a result of my opponent's initial bingo, I'm about 60 points behind. And this board is looking a little blocked. I need to be sure that I don't have a bingo. There is the floating D of quaffed. But I can't see a bingo beginning with that. Now both C-double-E and M-double-E are good, as is E-M-E. All of those would leave a decent rack leave. Chi takes an N and an S after it. I don't have either. Now I'm wondering if I can make use of the boyo hook. That would be a word beginning with O. Well, apart from playing O-R-E, I can't really see anything, and that's not a great move because it retains both the C and the M. MC is good, E-M-C-double-E, that burns all of my E's. So I'd like to find something better than that. Now if I had an A, I could play carefree through ref, which would be a nice play. Now, do I have a word? Is reforce good? R-E-F-O-R-C-E. 24 points. Reforce. Veal, 22 points for my opponent. And he takes out the Raja hook. Veal takes a U in front of it. Doesn't really provide any new opportunities for me. So what I'm thinking about is playing reforce down here. It opens the board up, which is good because I'm behind. The downside of this move is if it's a phony. Reforce. Well, let's find out. Again, another non-bingo-y rack. But I do have scoring tiles. I'm 57 points behind. I have the D for going on the end of reforce if it stays on the board. But I note that in the staircase pattern that's developing, that is denying access to most of the top of the board. It would be nice to open up the top of the board. And at the moment, the T front hook for Twiney is the only way I can see of doing that. Well, another good bingo for my opponent, and he has provided a nice load of floaters. Unfortunately, I don't have a rack to enable me to bingo back. I need to be sure of that. In particular, the O and the A need consideration. Okay, can't see anything there. Now, I am a long way behind, but all I can do is the best with my rack. And that means I'm looking for the winningest move. Now C takes an H after it. So I could play hem or hemp, parallel to reforce. Well, that's not bad. That might be nearly 30 points. Rack leaves okay. And I'm drawing attention away from the floaters in oarsmen, which I would like to keep available. They go quite well with my rack leave. If my opponent's got an S or a blank and plays a big play in row O, well, that's the risk that I have to take to get back into this game. I need an open board. Great. That looks pretty good. Danny's is good, so I've got Danny's and Hemp's. I think Danny's is good. Now, what do I have through the floaters in oarsmen? Anything through the O? Not that I can see. What about the A? No. What about the R? Ensnared. Great, I have ensnared through the R of oarsman, and I have Danny's, I think, in row O. I'd like to be a little more sure of Danny's, but there's nothing I can do about that. Now, what about a double-double in column 5 through the S of oarsman? Nope, can't see one there. So I am going to be trying a bingo, either the definite bingo in ensnared or the slightly doubtful Danny's in row O. So is there anywhere else that I haven't considered? Well, there's just nothing in the top half of the board because of the staircase that has been created. I'm contemplating Danny's. very high probability letters. So it ought to be a bingo, I'm sure of, but I don't think I've ever played it. But then why did it come to mind? I know Dinny is good, D-I-N-N-A-E, and it doesn't take an S. Well, I'll have to see if that stays available. My opponent may play in column 14, or indeed row O, or row N to deny the opportunity. Okay, well, it's ensnared that's been blocked, so I am going to try Danny's across here. My opponent's play has not opened up any better opportunities than Danny's. And it'll be pretty awful if this comes off. 89 points if it stays on, which is good. And if this stays on, I'm just 29 points behind, but my opponent is on turn. But with just a 29-point lead, it may be possible to catch my opponent without playing another bingo. Great, Danny stays on. 34 points for my opponent, which is not so good. He's now got a 60-point lead. I have no high-scoring tiles. I have 5 vowels, so I'm going to struggle to score. But I do have plenty of time. And there are bingo lanes on this board. Now, with no high-scoring tiles on my rack, I'm looking to see whether I can use some on the board. And I do have Ian down here. 27 points. I'm looking at the rack leave. Obviously the score is fine. What's bad about this move is that Ian doesn't take a hook at the end. And the vowel heavy rack leave, especially given that the floaters are the O and the A and oarsman, more vowels. So I'd really need to draw 3 consonants to have a decent rack. So can I play off 1 more vowel? There's only 1 N unseen and 2 R's. So both the N and the R are quite valuable. Well, I could play A-I-N-E in the same spot as Ian. What would that leave? Double E-R. What would I prefer? A-E-I? Or double E to go with the R? Tricky. 4 A's left and 4 I's. Well, A-E-I-R are all letters in the word retains, which are the 7 most bingo-y tiles. But the problem with saying that is that this is a very vulnerable rack leave, because I could easily draw another A, another I, and only have low scoring options. I think I'm going to go for A-I-N-E. Scores slightly more as well, and there's only 2 E's in the bag, and in any event duplicate or multiple E's is less of a problem than with other letters, other vowels rather. Great, this looks pretty good. I've got a 7-letter bingo lane in row N. Do I have a bingo? Well, through an E I would have sheetier. Theorise. I've got theorise through the O of oarsman. I hope that stays available. That hits the double word square at N2. Do I have a second bingo? I'm only 34 points behind at the moment. Column 4 is hopefully attractive to my opponent because of the front hooks for bow and if. But do I have... Okay, so my opponent takes out my theory spot. And ISO Thea was also possible. Do I have something else? There's the W of Waff, which could begin a bingo. It would certainly be very bad to miss a playable bingo at this point. I am now 62 points behind. So is there a 7 that plays in row N? Heister. Is Heister good? It doesn't play, but I'm considering it because I need to find some way of triggering a recollection as to whether there is a bingo with this rack. Wow, this is tough. Do not want to miss a bingo. There's the E of Ain. Now I mentioned Sheetia. Is there an anagram of Sheetia ending in an E? Etherize. Wow. Etherize. That is ringing a bell. Is it good? Etherize. Doesn't get doubled. But any bingo is better than any non-bingo on this board with this rack. Etherize 63. It certainly rings a bell with the S as a Z, and most of the I-Z-E ending words also end I-S-E. I don't recall Sheetia as having only one anagram, so there might be a third anagram that I can't remember. Sheetia, Etherize. Okay, I don't feel great about this, but I would feel worse if I didn't play it and it was good. Let's see if this stays on. If it does, I have a Q and a Z. The Q of quaffed or quaffed was a blank, so there will be 2 Qs on this board. Etherize, if it stays on, gives me a 1-point lead, but my opponent's on turn, so I will be behind after his move. Now, I've got a great scoring tile in the Z. And what's good about Etherize, if it stays on, is that it's taken out 2 bingo lanes, the row M1 that it's used itself, and also the row N1s. This is now a very un-bingo-y board. So if my opponent doesn't score hugely well, then I have a chance of establishing a small lead and hopefully maintaining it with the Z and the Q being great scoring tiles. I've got the I to go with the Q. I haven't looked around yet to find spots for my Q. I guess I'm still slightly holding my breath for Etherize, but I think it is good. I've got Zoic. I note that there is an eye on the board where I can place my Q above. Great, only 14 points for my opponent, and Etherize stays on. Fantastic. So, what to do with my rack? I've got 10 minutes left, which is great. There's no time trouble for me. There are 17 tiles in the bag, 7 on my opponent's rack. My opponent has taken out the I on the board that was available for my Q. So in terms of Q words, I've got chi and cheese on my rack. And I could play cheese at N2. Only 26 points, which is not great. And with one eye and a blank unseen, there's a possibility for my opponent to come back in row O for a bigger score. So maybe I should play my Z first. Where can I do that? Zoic is good. but any play which uses the I denies it for my Q, and my Q could then be a real problem. Now, well, I'm thinking about Zari down here, but that does use the I. However, it scores 44 points. On the other hand, I think the Zari may be a phony. I think it's Zati. I think it's Izar and Riser, and neither of those plays. So, let me think. There's still a U unseen, which my Q could use. Now, I could play Zo here. 27 points. It'd be so nice to score more. And Zo takes an A and a D in front, so my opponent could easily come back in row C for a biggish score. 8 minutes on the clock. Although I said I'm not in time trouble, if I don't play, the clock just keeps ticking. So, what can I do? Is there anywhere to play QI apart from QIS in row N? What's available for my Z? This is a really tricky situation. Seven minutes left on the clock. Wow. I do not want to miss a really good spot, having worked so hard to get back into this game. Well, what about this? Cos, 25 points, which is not great, but I'm not providing any scoring opportunities for my opponent, and I'm keeping the Q, the I, and the S all together on my rack. Okay, I quite like that. And I draw the A, or an A, which means I've now got cat as an option as well, and cat is playable in row L, which doesn't provide such an easy opportunity for my opponent. Well done to my opponent. A bingo in the only bingo lane on the board, which is beginning with W. So that's probably secured the win for him, or has it? How far am I behind? 64 points behind. Now, playing QI here, or Chi here, 44 points, rack leave is good, and I'm opening a bingo lane in row B. It is a bingo lane that my opponent will probably try and take out, but he might have difficulty taking it out. And in any event, it's good to put the pressure back on my opponent. I certainly need to play off the Q, and I can't see anywhere else which scores as well as this and opens a bingo lane. I note that I could have played cats at L1 using my S for about 50 points, which would be slightly better score, but I wouldn't be opening a rack leave and I'd be burning my S. And the value of the S at the moment is simply that it can contribute to a bingo in row B. Let's see how my opponent responds to this. Okay, well, I do not have a bingo. I drew an L and a V. There's not a 7-letter bingo with this rack. 6 tiles in the bag. So I need to see what my opponent does and then see if I can open up a new bingo lane. I am always reviewing my decisions, that there are no bingos available on this rack. It's the first thing you consider when you get a rack, so you quite often come to a provisional decision very quickly, so it is worthwhile revisiting. But nothing has leapt to mind. Through an E, I would have over salt. Now I'm looking around to see how I can open a second bingo lane, and it is not easy. And, well, looking at the score, I'm only 20 points behind. So my opponent has not only got to block the bingo lane, he also needs to keep scoring. Because if he scores just 10 and I'm able to come back with a 40-point play, I may not need a bingo to win. I do have a scoring tile in the V, and it's one that I'd like to play because it's not a bingo-y tile and the rest of the rack is bingo-y. I can see the remaining tiles at the bottom. They're not a particularly good bunch. Certainly is a vowel shortage. And they're all pretty non-bingo-y tiles. But the X and the Y are good scoring tiles. Having said that, I can't see any great X spots. My opponent could play Dex at H14, down from the D of Quaffed for 27. But I can't see any 50-point spots available. I could play Volt at L1 across, leaving ARS. That might tempt my opponent to score in the bottom left of the board and keep open a bingo lane elsewhere. And it's good to have that scoring opportunity available should my opponent block things up at the top. Because if I can't win, my second goal is to minimise my losing spread. Ah, wow. What a shame I don't have a bingo. My opponent has left the bingo lane open at the top. He's got a good score, 36 points. Now Oxy takes... well, it takes a D in front. There is a D unseen. And there are 3 tiles left. So what do I need to do? Play off my V and my L? How can I do that? Well, I could play Lav in column 10, but then that blocks the bingo lane. 3 tiles left. I want to play off 2. If I play off 3, my opponent will know exactly what I've got and block it. I don't want to make life that easy for him. Is there anywhere I can play just my V? I've got just under 4 minutes left, so I'm going to have to make a decision pretty soon. Again, I'm coming back to the in spot, which is the bingo lane. I certainly don't want to play Van. Gosh, this is frustrating. Well, I can just play my V here, but then I'm leaving 2 in the bag, so my opponent could play 1 tile. But, well, how good is this rack leave? ALORST. Do I have bingos with any of the remaining tiles? A. Alastor, I think is good. So, well, yes, I can. That plays at B8. D. No. E. Eastral. That doesn't play. Under 3 minutes to go. G. Nope. L. No. R. No. T. And U. So, playing off Irva, I am playing for just the A and Alastor. Can I improve my chances? Two minutes to go. Gosh. just don't like that play. Just looking for places I can play my V with perhaps one other tile. Okay. Just cannot see it. I'm pretty sure this is suboptimal. Okay, I did not draw the A. I can now see exactly what I've got. Do I have a bingo? Well, now 90 points behind. A bingo in row B probably wouldn't be enough anyway. No, I can't see a bingo with this rack. Good play by my opponent. Drag for 41 points. I can now see the tiles that he's got left. Well, I don't have a great deal of time to find the best possible play. Trinal for 18. I'm sure I can go out with LOS. I've got loss in column 13. And I've got dolls in column 14, down from the D of quaffed. I think that overplay was quite key. But I've no idea what the better move was. My opponent's got just under 7 minutes left, so he's under no time trouble at all. He doesn't have a great rack. You can see it at the bottom of your screen, ELTTU. I don't think Russell is good. Or Rutlet. So I don't think he's going to be able to go out in one. It's not an easy rack to deal with. He should probably be looking to see what my best out spot is and then see if he can disrupt that. I haven't seen anything better than dolls. But I am looking around the board. Just over 5.5 minutes left for my opponent. Okay, all those words are good. And 16 points for dolls. Which takes me just over the 400 point mark. And that's the end of the game. And the final score is 404 for me, 475 for my opponent, a winning margin of 71 points. So well done to my opponent. Let's see what I missed. Wow, Reforce was a phony, so I'm, well, partly delighted to get away with it and partly disappointed that I played it. Now, this was my opening rack. Great spot by my opponent of quaffed, and Boep looks like it was best. This is where I played whiny. That looks fine. I didn't consider cowboy. That would have been a nice word. And is this? I think this is where I played Reforce EME at J5. Well, that would be a very open move. So possibly not best, but all low-scoring options. So Reforce was certainly better, apart from the fact that it was completely made-up word. Hem for 38 at K5. Well, making SH as well, that would have been good. But Hemp for 31, I think, is a better rack leave, so not much between those plays. Danny's was good, and Sanidine at F2 was playable through the eye of bigots. I didn't spot that, but Danny's was certainly better. This is where I had a lot of vowels. J14. Oh wow, I could have played Ane to the right of Hemps. I played Ane with one E to the left. Okay, I think Ane to the right would have been a lot better. Ether Eyes was the only playable bingo, so I'm delighted to have spotted that. Zari was good for 44 points. Okay. But it would have burnt the I, which I needed for my cue. So I think my play of Cos for 19 fewer points may actually have been better, or very, very close to Zari. Good bingo spot by my opponent, Windages, on a non-bingo-y board. Chi for 44, that was my play. Now, did my opponent have the D when he played that? He didn't. He did not. Okay. Now, what should I have done with this rack? Salvor at A4. Salvor at A4. Okay, definitely not. Doesn't score enough. I need to play a maximum of 3 tiles. Vane takes out the bingo lane. Volta at A4 uses too many tiles. Pav at N13. Well, that's possible. That is possible. 16 points. Yeah. Pav, and then D4, VAR. Well, Pav is better. It only burns 2 tiles. If I burn off 3 tiles, my opponent knows exactly what I've got. So 2 tiles was the optimum. So I think Pav was a better play than Irva. But I suspect both of them had very low winning prospects. Now, what should I have done here? A4 Solar, Abo and Riff for 25, and I played Trinal. Okay, not very much between those moves. My opponent's play of Loot looks like it was best. And, well, I played Dolls for 16. I could have played Loss for 17, making Oboe and Sif, so I threw away 1 point at the end there. So an interesting game. I was behind. My opponent played well. He got plenty of bingos, and I was playing catch-up, and I did nearly catch him, but then my opponent went ahead at the end with Windages, and I was unable to bingo back. But it was a pretty close game, and I think it was strategically interesting in terms of how to play when you're behind. So I hope you got something out of that and enjoyed watching it. My name is David Webb, and this has been a video for Dweebovision.